have free transit and free food and free housing, free everything. There's no such thing as a free lunch. My goodness,
Exactly.
haven't we learned? There's no way to have
He just said
socialism in a
phase. And it's funny that no such thing as a free lunch. That's the very first thing that I learned in my high school econ class.
That it's not something you
He
should
doesn't
say.
use it. There's a difference.
He defends the
There's
I
a
think the key
difference.
point is he doesn't condemn. He doesn't
My
condemn it. Is the point, right? So he doesn't
He
doesn't
tries to
condemn it, which
redefine it.
actually in the modern
May I
climate
just make the
for a
point?
New York
Can I make-
City potential mayor not to condemn
an
a
intelligent
phrase like
point. Can I
globalized
just make
intifada
it,
is a pretty
please?
big deal.
It's terrible. It's
Well,
damning.
the reality is he tries to redefine the intifada as his own definition of the intifada. It's
Phil
not violent.
Donahue. That's who it was. In Naked Gun 33 and a third, Leslie Nielsen, he gets confused for Phil Donahue. That's who. Okay. So Maury Povich is married to Connie Chung. Okay. But I was thinking of Phil Donahue. All right. Anyway, not important. Yes. This Zohran guy doesn't want to condemn his global intifada nonsense. And I mean, and it's ridiculous because they always want us to condemn things and they want Trump to condemn everyone, but they don't have to condemn anything.
Well, go tell that to the thousands of people that have been killed. I used to go to Israel in the late 90s and the early 2000s when Ehud Olmert was mayor. I've been in hospitals seeing girls whose faces were ripped apart by Hamas. There was an intifada. There were two of them. It killed thousands of people, and it has no other definition. And the guy's playing a sick communist game.
Well, yeah.
Of double
It's not
speak.
true either.
And Cenk,
It totally is true, Cenk. Of course, Cenk's going to say that because, you know, he's a lefty. He has to defend lefties at all costs. But it's absolutely true. They want to play this evil communist game, like Rudy Giuliani says.
let me bring Cenk. I'm going to bring
And
Cenk
he
back
is a
in. Hang on.
He's a total empty suit.
Let me bring Cenk back in because another problem Mamdani may have as this goes on is he's on record as saying that he wants to defund the police. He's tried to distance himself from that, but he said it. He insisted that queer liberation means defund the police. I mean, again, the idea that somebody, maybe the mayor of New York, would actually have that as a quote on their record is pretty extraordinary. Is he going to be able to shake off these quotes like that, which to many New Yorkers would be complete anathema? And Rudy, when he was mayor of New York, famously the broken windows strategy of fixing the small stuff and police everywhere and empowering them and resourcing them and so on. And now you've got a guy who wants to defund the police.
He wants to break more windows.
He also accuses them of being racist.
So just
he also accuses them of being racist when they are a non-majority police department. There's nothing racist about the New York City Police Department. The last time de Blasio did that, he got 2 cops killed, and that's what led to their turning their back on him. There was a riot in Baltimore, and de Blasio, like this other crazy communist, went out and said, "Oh, New York is racist too," and a guy came up from Baltimore and he shot 2 detectives, assassinated them 4 days later. And that's why the cops turned.
Yeah, and you know, he is an admitted socialist, and he even wants to open up government run supermarkets and like complete socialism stuff. You know, now the left, when they go, "Oh, well, do you even know what socialism means?" It's like, yeah, that's socialism. That right there, socialism. So you can't say it's not when you're having government-run supermarkets.
the question was to me.
On that guy.
All right, check.
These people are dangerous and they get people killed. And you know who gets killed? The black people get killed as a result of it. Yes, no? You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
All right, that's not talking once. Cenk, you go. You go.
Okay, so a bunch of misnomers there. First of all, it was the highest voter turnout in a Democratic primary in a long time. I was part of the AOC campaign. We were counting on low voter turnout. Not in this case. The tide has changed. Younger people, like Geraldo said, are voting for change, and middle class is voting for change. So you guys play word games. But now to the main question that Piers was asking. Look, there's some of his policies that I don't agree with. I don't agree with defund the police. I wouldn't have had government-run grocery stores at the top of my list. I just wouldn't have, right? And I'm not saying it's a bad.
It shouldn't be on your list at all. Government-run supermarkets. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. That could ruin the supermarket, like the supermarket. I want to say industry, but it's going to ruin stuff there in New York when you have government funded supermarkets competing against corporate run supermarkets.
Idea. I just
and the dude said, Zohran said, like, oh, this is not going to be profit motivated. Oh, okay, so you could just charge whatever for the product. How is it even going to work? How is it not going to collapse? It's not profit motivated at all. So what, you're going to charge $1 for bread or something, and it's going to it's going to be a complete mess.
Prioritized it. So free buses, that's super interesting. I want to see how it works. These are not my policies.
I want to see how it works.
But the Democrats in New York elected him. And
the girl over here, just perfect reaction. That's just that's what we're all feeling.
Free buses, that's super interesting. I want to see how it works. These are not my policies, but
that's what we're all feeling, lady.
The Democrats in New York elected him, and so let's let him give it a shot, right?
No.
So in terms of, defunding the police, again, let's be careful, and he is careful. He at least says it the right way. I don't like the phrase at all, but what he's talking about is moving some portion of the money towards social services. So, okay, you could say, I don't want to try that. That's fine. You've got a general election coming up. But a lot of his economic policies are for change. That's the third issue that I mentioned, Piers, in the beginning. And so overall, I'm for change. I'm against the establishment. So if this brother wants to try the grocery stores, he wants to try free buses, etc., let him take a shot at it. We've already seen what the establishment has to offer, and it's nothing but pulp. It's driven this country into the ground. I don't want another Cuomo. I don't want another Adams. I want change.
In one hand, I actually do agree that we should let him try it, and only so that way people could see how it doesn't work, and it could fail miserably, and people won't want to advocate for this shit anymore. There is a YouTuber who I used to watch a lot. He's from Romania. His name's V. But he would say, like, if you want to create like an immunity for, like, if you want people to stop advocating for socialism, have them live like through a communist regime for like 10 years, and they will never want it again. Like after that, they're never going to want it again. And same thing, like, yeah, you know what? Fine. I hope that I don't hope, because I don't want, listen, I'm not wishing for the worst for New York City, but on one hand, I also kind of want him to get elected so he implements these and people could see that it just doesn't work and it's actually catastrophic. It would be terrible. And then people will stop asking for that shit. And maybe people will stop voting for these freaking Democrats. So next year, when Newsom's up, or, when Newsom leaves office, we won't get Governor Kamala Harris or Governor Julio Guadalupe Gonzalez, the first Mexican immigrant governor of California. They'll see what happens to New York and be like, yeah, we don't want that. No more.
Hey, let me just, I want to ask Geraldo actually first, then come to you, Lindy, because it's interesting actually that what Cenk just said, because the conservative writer, Rod Dreher, likened Mamdani's win to Trump's. He said New York left-wing voters, quotes, lashed out against what they regard as a failed liberal establishment, electing a charismatic populist who promised a clear break with the past. We on the right can shake our heads and laugh at how dumb New York liberals and progressives were to choose a candidate as politically inexperienced and radical as Mamdani, but don't miss that this was also a referendum on the Democratic Party itself. And, I do remember, Geraldo, when in 2015, Donald Trump came down the famous elevator saying, I'm going to run for president, everyone mocking and laughing and saying he's got no experience. This is a ridiculous candidate, quoting all sorts of incendiary things he'd said before, blah, 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 blah. And he won. And he's now won again. So is it mad for the Democrats to actually go for a young, kind of their version of Trump?
I think will, in New York at least, mostly be affected by people's wallets, by people's pocketbooks. There is no way that the middle class, the upper middle class, the strivers, the hard workers, the college educated business creators, there's no way that they're going to tolerate more tax, more income tax. And to think that you're going to have free transit and free food and free housing, free everything. There's no such thing as a free lunch. My goodness,
Exactly.
haven't we learned? There's no way to have
He just said free
socialism in a
So in Cenk's world, there's no such thing as free lunch. Like Cenk, Geraldo doesn't mean that literally. It's a phrase. And it's funny that no such thing as a free lunch. That's the very first thing that I learned in my high school econ class. That was the first thing that the teacher taught was there's no such thing as a free lunch, meaning that someone somewhere has to pay for it. That's what that means. It's not free. Doesn't just manifest out of nothing. It's someone has to pay for it somewhere. And if you're not directly paying for it, your taxes are paying for it or other people are paying for it. There is no such thing as a free lunch. So free buses, yeah, you might not have to, put your money in the bus right when you walk in with free buses, but the taxpayers are going to be paying for it. Someone is going to be paying for it. That's what that means, Cenk. Come on. I learned this in my high school econ class.
City that needs, in the city that needs the vibrancy of Wall Street to create the jobs. It's not just the brokers it's the grocery guy on the corner of Wall Street. It's the Uber driver, et cetera, et cetera. If you take the tax base of New York and attack it anymore, it will be a failed city like so many others. And it's the last thing. We have to embrace the police.
Real quick, thank you very much, Michael Kimball, for the $10 super chat. Seriously, dude, thank you guys. You guys are really coming with the super chats. Man, you guys are chads today. Hey, bro, have to go get some boom boom for the 4th. Have a good stream. Thank you, man. I hope you get some good quality boom booms. All right, let's continue. Sorry about Melanie behind this. And now let's continue.
Please. We have to embrace the job creators. We have to try to lower taxes in the richer, whiter neighborhoods so they don't go to Scarsdale and other communities, upscale communities that don't tax nearly as much. And in terms of the cops, my goodness, I voted for Giuliani and Bloomberg before him. And the change in the city over those 5 terms was extraordinary. It was a functioning, workable, integrated city where the goals and the dreams of socialists were realized with the fruits of capitalism. So I think that this kid is way, way off the mark. But I also believe that if all these people run on independent lines, as promised now, Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo, Curtis Sliwa, he could win.
Yeah.
You could have the first young Muslim, mayor of the biggest Jewish city in North America. You could, it could happen, and it could happen.
Zohran's first act as mayor: get rid of those underground Jew tunnels.
And particularly if the sore of Gaza continues to deep.
Yeah, I think you're right. Lindy.
By the way, wouldn't that be beautiful,
Wait,
guys?
Cenk, you're
Well,
right.
actually,
Wait, hold on. Let Cenk cook. He's gonna cook, guys. I have a feeling.
It would be an amazing thing, and I actually thought Cenk, that the way Geraldo framed it earlier, that hundreds of young.
Wait, what's going to be an amazing thing though? What is he? What's going to be an amazing thing? We're gonna have a young Muslim mayor. Who gives a shit? Oh yeah, he might run the city to the ground, but you know what? At least he was Muslim.
Jewish people, right, male and female, who actually do not share the view that you just of their parents and grandparents, that you have to have just blind, devoted loyalty to Israel, particularly if its government is behaving in the way that it's currently behaving in Gaza.
And
I
they
have
voted
to
for a
address what you
Muslim
said
mayor.
earlier,
And
please.
isn't that
I've
a
been dying
beautiful
to
thing
answer
about
you.
America? I mean, isn't that a beautiful thing about America?
Oh yeah.
That we don't care about religion, that young Jewish voters and young Christian and Muslim voters could vote for a Muslim candidate because they believe in his economic message and his message of justice. That's what America is supposed to be all about, that we forget about this race and religion stuff and vote on the substance.
You talk about him implementing change, but all of his promises are lies. When we can go through and debunk every single one.
Yeah.
For example, he says he wants to offer free buses, but guess what's going to happen then? If you don't charge anything for buses, there's no funding for transportation coming in. So how are you going to maintain your infrastructure fleet? And if you control rent, the supply of housing is going to decrease and the quality will decrease as well. And most importantly, though, who's going to pay for it? When the governor of New York herself, Kathy Hochul, vowed that she would not be raising taxes. So every single thing he said was actually a lie. Either he knew it or he doesn't. I don't know which is better. Is it deception
it's
or
not a lie?
Well, I just told you. I gave
Lindy,
you
it's
three
not a lie.
examples of things that could just cannot happen because the governor is not raising taxes. He can't operate in a vacuum. Okay, not everyone is
Lindy,
a communist. You have to partner with other people in the government and collaborate. It's a whole of government approach.
So,
it's
Lindy,
not
Lindy,
a microcosm.
Lindy. You know, it's a load of crap. Cenk, remember when Donald Trump came in the office and he was doing all the tariffs and stuff, and all these lefties freak out and all of a sudden pretended to care about the economy, right? Whoa, the economy is going to crash. Oh my God, this is going to be harmful to the economy. And then they turn around and advocate for like free buses and government supermarkets and shit. They're all load of, they're full of crap. Absolutely full of crap.
You're saying you disagree with his approach, but to say that it's a lie doesn't make sense. No, he really does want free buses, and he has a plan for free buses. Now, you can say, hey, I don't think that plan is going to work, and I think it's going to have negative consequences. Well, good news. Let's hope we're about to find out, okay?
Well,
and maybe you're wrong. Maybe the free buses totally...
Oh, yeah, so the free buses, let's wait and find out. The tariffs we could freak the fuck out over, right? We could freak the fuck out over tariffs. Oh, but when it comes to the buses and the supermarkets, let's just wait and see. Let's wait and see. You know, it's an experiment.
Work out. And in fact, there are different ways to finance
taxes. I think he went into the campaign knowing that he was offering false promises to the New York people. Another thing that I find extremely alarming is saying that he said his ultimate goal is to seize the means of production. That is something straight out of Animal Farm right there. It has no place in the United States of America.
He certainly has. He's got a lot of quotes on his track record. I want to pivot.
You know what? Sorry. I just noticed Piers, he has a habit of matching like people, like his outfits. You know, because in the Konstantin Kisin versus Dave Smith that Piers hosted, Piers and Konstantin were wearing the same outfit. Now in this one, it's like Piers and Geraldo wearing the same outfit. Twinsies. They're twinsing. Cenk got the wrong memo though. He didn't know he was supposed to wear a white collared shirt, not a white button-up shirt, not a blue button-up shirt. Cenk, come on, you misread it. It was supposed to be white, dude, not blue.
Before we finish this, Rudy, I want to talk to you about Donald Trump, because you could argue the last 2 or 3 weeks have been the best, really, of his entire time as president, first and second term combined. You've got this extraordinary strike on Iran's nuclear capabilities and a ceasefire coming when people did not anticipate that happening so quickly. He's got NATO to stump up to 5% of GDP on individual spending, a massive win at the Supreme Court, of course. Peace deal in Africa. He brought peace between India and Pakistan when that was flaring up. He's moving hard to try and get peace in Gaza. He's moving hard to try and get peace in Ukraine. If we end up at the end of the year and there is peace in Ukraine, there is peace in Gaza, and all the other things I've mentioned here, not to mention the southern border has pretty much stopped now having anyone coming over illegally, and the economy, if that is purring away as well, given that the stock market's pretty much back where it was before the tariff war started, so he's obviously pleasing the markets. If you put all that together, this could be a stunning, successful year for Trump.
Well, Piers knows a lot of ifs, but they're all ifs that he's aiming toward. And I think people, because of their insanity about him, haven't recognized that there's a different Donald Trump since Butler County. Much more serious, much more concerned about the future, much more concerned about life and death, and frankly, much more spiritual.
Yeah,
it's a different Donald Trump than the one Geraldo and you and I grew up with.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Cenk, I mean, putting aside the fact you can't stand him, do you acknowledge he's had a lot of wins?
Nope, I do not acknowledge that. He's the worst. He is scum. Screw Donald Trump. F him.
Well, I
look, I give
That's for
credit.
Cenk, Rudy. That's for
Rudy,
Cenk.
that one's for me too. Yeah.
Well, I know there's a
So,
big,
look,
big
I give
noise
credit where
behind me.
credit
I'm
is
sorry.
due.
Yeah, give him
That's okay.
credit.
So, yeah, no, on some things. So, look, I think that the budget bill's a disaster. I think
Of
that
course
it's going
he
to
does.
pass and it's going to create $4 trillion deficit. And they always give away tax cuts for the rich and then go, oh, golly gee, I don't know how wound up with such a big debt. It's because of Republicans who passed these giant tax cuts. And I can go, and I don't like Marines.
They really hate tax cuts, man. Like Cenk really just wants us to just give all of our money to the government, or a lot of our money to the government. You know, like he hates tax cuts, and it doesn't just affect the rich; it affects all of us. Like, don't we all get tax cuts? It's not just the rich. And he's also glossing over the no taxes on tips. He's just glossing over that. That's not a rich person thing. That's a common man type of deal.
In the streets, there's a million things that I criticize Donald Trump on that, and he deserves.
I hope that Trump eventually does the no income tax thing. I hope he's able to do that. But anyway, let's see Cenk's Trump derangement syndrome go off.
But the proof's going to be in the pudding, all right? So if he walks back all the tariffs, as he's in the middle of doing now, he closes the border, and this is the critical part. If he gets a two-state solution, which just sounds so unbelievable, right? But if he gets that to happen, then there's no way that you could stop his popularity. Because at that point, he will be a peace president. He probably will win a Nobel Peace Prize. And it'll cement his legacy. And there's nothing that anybody can do about it. But that's a giant if, right?
Sure.
But if he allows Israel, which is much more likely, if he allows Israel to continue the slaughter in Gaza, he continues having them agitate for war in Iran, and he continues with the tariffs, he continues with Marines in the streets and National Guard in the streets, et cetera, then he's going to continue to be more and more unpopular. So the jury is very much out right now.
All right, Geraldo, I thought...
Wow, what a stupid take from Cenk. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything different. I was expecting nothing but nonsense. But just how... So stupid. You can't be on this panel advocating for let's see how free buses and the supermarkets, let's see how those work. And then being like, yeah, but I don't know about Trump, we'll have to see, and not admit that you have some kind of Trump derangement syndrome.
Rudy hit on something there. Rudy has slipped off into the night, I think. But thank you. Unexpected bonus to having returned. The thing you said, though, about Trump being a changed man since the assassination attempt, I've definitely detected that when I talked to him. I also think he's a man who got a second lease at life, a second lease at the presidency, and he's on a mission, a real fast-track mission.
Thanks for stopping by.
To get stuff done, because he knows come the midterms that things may slow down. He might get paralyzed in terms of his ability to get stuff through. So he's on a mission in these first 2 years, I think, to get as much done as he possibly can, and to do it in a pretty blunt and often quite savage way, because he knows from his first term that if you don't do that, you won't get stuff done.
Well, I think I agree and disagree. I disagree because I believe that his draconian policies toward undocumented immigrants in this country, not the border's fine, sealed the border, but the people who are here, who have proven to be law-abiding and hardworking and God-fearing and family-oriented, what they are living in terror now. I'll tell you right now, Piers, I've never seen anything like it.
Who cares? Who cares? That's my answer. Who cares? They're not supposed to be here. I don't give a shit. They weren't supposed to be here. That's the risk they took when they came here. There's a risk coming here and living here illegally. The risk is, the benefits are you can make a good life for yourself here. But the risks are that you could get sent back. That's one of the risks of being somewhere you don't belong. If you don't come in the right way, you're risking getting sent back. So you have no one to blame but yourselves if you're here illegally and you're living in fear. That's on you. That's a you problem. Personal responsibility.
Particularly Hispanic. It hits close to home.
Oh gosh, Geraldo. What, are you illegal too, Geraldo? I don't think you are. So why do you care? Okay, these people, they're like, well, I'm an immigrant. He's probably going to be like, well, my parents came here, or I came here. I'm an immigrant here. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you're here legally. So why do you care? This is about illegals, people who are illegally here. Why is that so hard for people to understand?
You can't find workers now. Service people. The Hamptons are in panic over our affluent holiday spa in the eastern end of Long Island now. Can't find Mexicans to come and work there. It's
Is that a joke, or was he being serious? Was he really trying to say, my cheap labor, the people in the Hamptons, they have no one to go clean their toilets now? There's no one to pick our crops. There's no one to clean up our hotel rooms, our soiled rags in our hotel rooms. Like, is that really what he's? I'm genuinely asking. Like, was he being serious with that, or was he making a joke? Like, is he trolling now?
Shocking, and it's awful. In terms of his spirituality, just very, very briefly, he's been
like, did he really come on here and make an argument that the people in the Hamptons now have no Mexicans to serve them? Was that really his argument? Dude, I want to go back and listen to that. I want to make sure I did not misunderstand anything.
Close to home. It is, you can't find workers now. Service people. The Hamptons are in panic over, our affluent holiday spa in the eastern end of Long Island now. Can't find Mexicans to come and work there. It's shocking. And
so
awful.
Was he trolling, or was he being serious? I can't tell. I can't tell if he was trolling or being serious. Because that's wild if he was being genuine, like the rich people at the Hamptons, they can't find there's no Mexicans there willing to serve them now. Like, he can't, guys, was he being serious there? How's it going, James? Good to see you. Yeah, exactly. But guys, was he being serious with that? Like, because I can't tell. Did he really make the argument the people in the Hamptons now don't have Mexicans to serve them?
In terms of his spirituality, just very, very briefly, he's been always extremely easy to underestimate. He has all kinds of enemies everywhere he turns, but he has gone through the list of achievements that you listed. There is so impressive. It's historic, and he's a slam dunk, I think, for the Nobel Prize. Particularly if he get Gaza and Ukraine, if he can figure those out, then God bless him. He deserves it. Absolutely.
Yeah, Lindy. I mean, I thought Gerardo made a good point there. I don't understand about the deportation policy, why they didn't stick to what they originally said they were going to start with, which is just kick all the criminals out, because that seemed to have universal support. Excuse me, support. Well, if you were here undocumented in America and you committed a crime, that's it, you're gone. Everyone would have cheered that. It's the fact that they've expanded it very quickly, and they've let people sort of slip through the net where it clearly looks unfair or there's a lack of due process. That's now become to dominate the narrative.
Who cares? If you're here and you're not supposed to be here, by default, you're a criminal.
Piers, I think I'm going to say something that will probably surprise you. I don't think he's gone hard enough on immigration. I think he should do more. I think anyone who comes to this country illegally should not be here. As a naturalized American myself, I'm extremely pissed off that millions of people have just stormed across the southern border willy-nilly, completely desecrating our laws and our immigration system. How is that fair? And I think that's one of the reasons why Democrats lost, because they don't realize how many Americans who came here as immigrants they pissed off by coddling these illegal aliens.
Yeah.
But what about Geraldo's point that already people are struggling now because so many people are being deported and there's a terror of being deported? And there's clearly a qualitative difference between somebody who's in the country illegally, who commits a crime, and somebody who maybe came over 10 years ago, 12 years ago, has had kids in America, has got a job, is paying taxes. These are two different cases, aren't they?
So we should triage.
No, they still came here illegally. They're not supposed to be here. Okay, can I break into someone's house, live there without them knowing, but as long as I don't know, pay them some rent or something, I should just be able to stay there? I mean, that's not how it works. There is a line, there's procedures to follow. You can't just come here illegally. It's by default you're a criminal if you're here illegally. All right? If you want to come here the right way. But when you're sneaking in here, it doesn't matter how much of a law-abiding life. First of all, how much of a law-abiding life can you really live? For instance, if you want to buy a gun, well, you can't do it without the proper paperwork. And if you don't buy the proper paperwork, well, then I mean, you can't legally buy a gun. So you're gonna have to buy it illegally. Also, you can't vote, but all these people, I'm pretty sure, are voting. Like, there's a lot of things you can't do. Why would you want to be here if you can't even enjoy all the complete freedoms we have in the first place?
But they also broke our laws. What is the point of having laws if they're just broken?
Exactly.
Okay, if we should have a sensible system, if you want to come to America, you got to be able to contribute to the success of this country.
Please, let me get one second.
All right, let Gerardo respond.
My family and I came here. I came to this amazing country.
God bless your family. So did all
we
of our
never took a
families.
handout. I'm still talking.
42% of our agricultural workers are undocumented.
Okay, so he's being serious. So they really are making the argument. Guys, Democrats, listen to me. Look, right here. Stop using the cheap labor argument. It is not a good look for you. It is not a good look for you. Back when slavery was happening, you guys were on the side of the Confederacy arguing, well, who's going to pick our cotton? Now it's, well, who's going to pick our crops? Who's going to clean our toilets? It is not a good look. And is that really the only reason? Because that's the big reason you guys are saying that, well, who is going to pick our crops? That's the big reason I've heard. So it's not like you guys even care about these people. You're just wondering who's going to do our cheap labor. So you guys don't care about these people. And every time you use the cheap labor excuse, it shows you don't care about these people. You just want your maids and your crop pickers and your lawnmower, your landscapers and your toilet cleaners and all this crap. That's what you guys like. You don't care about Mexicans. You only care about having them clean your fucking toilets. And every time you make that argument, that's all I hear. Stop acting like you care. You don't. You just want to pay Julio to mow your lawns. That's all you want them there for. How about you either mow your own damn lawn or hire an American to do it? That is all.
And nobody disagrees with that statistic. 42% of the people who till our fields, who reap our crops, who feed us, 42% are undocumented. They're not the tabloid 1 in a million who commits a heinous crime.
My point is that we should triage. Piers, that we should prioritize the criminals, but anyone who comes here illegally does not have a right to be in this country.
No, of course, but the problem with that is that there are apparently up to 80 million people who are undocumented in the United States. You got to throw them all out? I mean,
why not?
We don't have the resources to throw them all out, but my personal view.
Why shouldn't we try though? Why shouldn't we throw as much as we can out? What, just because they're already here? Oh, okay. Don't throw them out? No. Let's try our best to get them as much out as possible.
Be respectful to the laws and regulations.
I don't disagree with that, but I do think you can't throw out 80 million people, particularly in a country, Cenk, which is founded on immigrants. Cenk.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, I came here when I was a kid. Even though I'm a naturalized citizen, I came here the right way. I'm still going to fight on behalf of illegals here because I'm a fucking moron.
Yeah. So I'm also a naturalized citizen, and my family came here because we love this country. And if you saw America the way that I see it, I think you'd love it even more.
What do you see it as, Cenk? A place, a safe space for the world where everyone is just entitled to be here? Everyone's just entitled to be here so we could benefit from the fruits of the taxpayers' labor?
So I get it that people are frustrated that people are coming in illegally, but they didn't come here. The great majority of them didn't come here for anything but economic opportunity for their families. So look, people want to close the border. So that and Trump has done a good job of closing the border. Credit where credit is due. That is what people voted for. But I think Joe Rogan is right. They did not, and I think Geraldo's right. They did not vote for ICE to go in the middle of the country, in the middle of our cities, and uproot people that have been here 10 years, 20 years, that are doing super hard work. We should have a reasonable, sane immigration policy where we have a pathway to citizenship. We should acknowledge that we need these workers, and we should get them decent wages and a decent policy, by the way, and close the border. Do it right. Instead, what's happening now is we have undocumented immigration mainly because of corporate power. They want to be able to pay these guys less. They want to be able to use their work and not give them the right credit for it. Or, by the way, use...
Oh, yeah, the cheap labor, which is what Geraldo was just defending right now. Rich-ass millionaire Geraldo is defending, but what about us in the Hamptons? We need our Mexicans to do our work for us. You mean like that attitude, Cenk? You mean like that? Which is what you're supporting by default, you idiot?
Their work instead of Americans and not pay them the proper wages. Okay. So the real problem is...
So the problem isn't that there's illegals coming here and willing to work for less. You know, we have to, I guess, pay them more equally. But if they're not here legally, there's no the proper documentation. What motives does a corporation have to hire someone here legally where they have to do all the paperwork, pay the taxes because it's all on the books, where they could just pay, you know, Juan or Julio over here under the table, much cheaper, and the corporations don't have to report it. Again, you're saying you're against this, but by supporting it, you are for it, Cenk.
Well, that's why we can't get to it.
But I would love to see you demonstrate the same sympathy to the victims of the rapes and the murders committed by illegal aliens, by the millions of people that Biden let into
Can I address that real quick?
Unvetted.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, natural-born citizens are the most violent, most criminal group in the country. Compared to undocumented immigrants.
That's always their out. That's always their out. No, actually, naturalized citizens are the most violent. Actually, well, we don't know because I don't think a lot of this goes reported. But yeah, I'm pretty sure per capita that's not true. But even if it were true, even if he's 100% correct, that doesn't mean they should be allowed to be here.
Naturalized citizens. So naturalized citizens like me and Lindy are 4 times safer. We commit only a quarter of the crime on average. Undocumented. Hold on, let me finish. It's almost over. Undocumented immigrants commit half the crime of natural-born citizens. So does that mean we should kick out the natural-born citizens or natural-born citizens?
Tell that to Lincoln Riley, by the way, who's no longer alive.
The number of criminals are small in each one of those categories. And demagoguing about criminality when on average undocumented immigrants commit half the crime of the people that are born here is just demagoguery.
The one thing I would like
driving towards
we got to wrap up, I'm afraid.
But you're an immigrant in this country.
Lindy, I'm going to wrap it. I'm sorry.
You should not be committing any crimes.
Well, I agree with that. But what I would say is
no crimes, or else we got to send the Terminator after them.
One thing I would like,
or a kindergarten cop.
I would like someone like me who's lived and worked in America and has a home there for 20 years now.
Gosh.
I would like to be described as something else on my visa other than exceptional alien. I think there's something very...
Oh, gosh, Piers. Jeez. Piers, shut up. Shut the hell up. Who cares?
Unfriendly about the description of me as an... I mean, I may... I like to think I'm exceptional. It's the word alien really pisses me off.
You're my favorite exceptional.
Can we all agree that you could have more friendly terminology for people like me? Thank you.
Nah, we're good with exceptional alien. I'm good with that. Piers Morgan, you are an exceptional alien. You're an alien. Touch so far away. Well, anyway, that was that retardedry. The only based one here was Lindy and also Rudy Giuliani. But you have Geraldo, who actually said, us here in the Hamptons, we're not going to be able to find some good Mexicans. to go pick our crops, okay? And then you have Cenk over here, being as retarded as usual, and Piers, who, is less retarded, but he still has some retarded because he's not from here in America. So obviously he has a little bit of a bias too, because he's coming from Europe, and apparently he doesn't like being called an exceptional alien. So he has some skin in the game as well. So of course he's going to be like, can't we all be nicer to the illegal immigrants? That is not what people voted for. No, Piers, that is exactly what we voted for. Get them all out. Get as much of them out as possible. They don't belong here. It is that simple. That simple. These people took a risk coming here. They knew the risks. And it can't be easy for them living here as well. I just mentioned earlier, they're going to be doing things illegally by default because they're not legally here. So they're going to be doing things like buying firearms illegally. They're going to be working jobs that they're not allowed to work because they don't have the documentation. And so they're going to be paid less than what they should be paid because they're being paid under the table. They don't have as much rights as we do because they're going to be afraid of being deported. They're afraid of being deported, so they're not going to be going to the police or anything like that. It causes all kinds of problems for them. But these are the risks they took because they want to make a better life for themselves, which, if they want to make a better life for themselves, fine. But come here the right way. If you come here the wrong way, it's just harder for you. It's harder for everybody. And these people are encouraging it. They like it. They want people because they feel that, I don't know, America's the safe space of the world. And then you have people like Geraldo here who wants the Mexicans to clean the toilets for them and stuff. It's just ridiculous. Utterly, utterly ridiculous. But what did you guys think about this? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Give this video a like if you liked it. And if you really liked it, please subscribe to my channel. You'll be helping me out a lot. I got a lot more Piers Morgan panels just like this. I got Cenk Uygur making an ass out of himself. And it happens a lot, so it has its own playlist. And much, much more on my channel that I think you'll enjoy.